Show will be starting soon, so get your asses in your seats. And while you're at it, please go check out Rise Among Rivals, the band. This is the lead singer of the band. He is my install manager. Credits go to them. Thank you. What is... Oh, I'm still on the
Megaphone. Don't need the megaphone, and you guys are staring at the wrong screen here. You might get the right one here. We'll see what happens. Maybe not. There we go. There's Bluon. Guys, I always like to start the show off by showing love to those companies who help make this possible. Tonight, I'm talking about the one and only sponsor of the pod. Well, not the one and only, but one of the newest and one that I'm so excited about. We've been doing a bunch of things together is going to be Bluon. Guys, I don't understand why anybody out there does not have the Bluon app downloaded. I really, really don't, because there's no excuse. It is 100% free. Free. Costs you nothing. It is like having the ultimate tech in your pocket every time you need it. And there's no excuse. With all the things that they're adding, the tech support on any brand, how many of you have waited on hold for tech support for them just to tell you to go fuck yourself at the end? And I'm being polite when I say that. That's pretty much what happens. Or you're not a certified, a factory authorized dealer, so they won't help you. They say that in a nice way. Bluon helps everybody for every manufacturer. The other thing is, how many of you have picked up the wrong part? You think it's the right one, but it's not. Are you checking your parts before you leave the supply house? Well, what if you knew you could be guaranteed to get the right part every time you go to pick it up? Or at least you did everything on your side to make sure you got the right part you're supposed to get. Guys, you can go right through the Bluon app, find exactly what you need. You can find out whatever that cross-reference is to, the cross-reference number, whatever it is. You can get a quote or place an order directly through the local supply house that you're already using. You don't have to switch supply houses. You don't have to use some online reseller. Buy it from the same supply house you've been buying your parts from this whole time. That's going to help your supply house. You don't got to sit there and sit on the phone for 45 minutes trying to get something ordered. It goes right through. It gets picked. It makes the job easier for everyone. And that's not even it. They're also going to have a courier service, which we're doing a podcast. Me and Mr. Pete, the CEO of Bluon, is doing a podcast with them here coming up in the next couple of weeks, where they're like the Uber, the delivery people, the DoorDash of HVAC parts. They are going to be able to deliver the parts to you. What customer, commercial, residential, whatever, wouldn't pay a small fee for you to be able to fix that unit the same day? You don't have to wait. You can get the part you need, because let's be honest, we can't stock everything on our trucks, especially nowadays where things are hard to get. So guys, go become a Bluon Pro member. And Bluon Pro member is two different things. There's no reason why you shouldn't be a Bluon Pro, because it's free. Click a few buttons, become a Bluon Pro, join the community, and start helping yourself. All right? Guys, this series is meeting the Bluon Tech Support Advisors, the amazing people they have there helping you for free. The last episode, we had Mr. Dennis and Mr. Brian, and tonight we have two more. So let's get on to this pledge, and let's meet these gentlemen tonight. All right? Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Five, four, three, two, one, go.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil Cavey Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil Cavey Jr. Another special episode for you with my friends over at Bluon. Meet the tech support team. These fine gentlemen who are helping you guys get through your problems for free. So, guys, let's get right to it. Let's put your hands together and let's welcome Mr. Mike and Logan. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Doing well.
Yes, thank you guys for being here. I know there's some sap that's not getting his call answered now because you guys are here with me, but they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
We got a great team.
Yeah, I've heard it, and everybody. I don't even say this. Everybody, literally everybody that I've met from Bluon has been awesome. It's been fun, genuine people who really. You can really find people who give a shit about the industry, and everybody that I've met from Bluon has been that way. You could tell that nobody's faking the funk, and you guys are genuine, so that's why it's so awesome to do this and have this partnership. So thank you guys for being here again.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so I guess we'll do this to start off. I guess normally I start in the middle and work my way out for me. So, Mike, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, just a little bit about your history and, your background.
Mike Mabry, Director of Systems and Technology. I kind of bounced around when I was young, went in the military, spent 3 years Air Force, 3 years Air National Guard, went to work with a rep firm doing those really cool little things called variable speed drives in their infancy, and did that from early 80s until about 2010 when everybody who could jump 2 wires together and dial the speed knob was now a drive expert. So I was at MCOR by then. We developed a flooded chiller for turbocore compressors, and then ended up over at Multistack and developed their flooded chiller line. And then they closed down West Coast operations in 2016. And I helped a friend of mine out who was working with a Bluon conversion, got involved in that, straightened out a few problems, and met Pete and Matt. And Pete says, "Come to work for me. We're going to change the world. We're going to change the industry." And I said, "Okay." And it's been one hell of a ride. I mean, I could not work with a greater bunch of people. So this is where I am.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And everybody says that about Mr. Pete. So I don't know if you guys are being genuine or just kissing ass. No, I'm just kidding. But everybody I've met who meets him says the same thing. And I'll repeat the same story I said last time is whenever I talk with the CEO of a big company like this, and I say the word fuck, and he goes, "Fuck yeah," I'm like, he's my kind of guy. So, all right, Logan, a little bit about you, buddy.
All right, so I'm Logan Marshall. I'm the technicians project lead at Bluon. I've spent most of my career on the residential side with a family business here in South Carolina. But about 3 or 4 years ago, I ventured off over into the commercial and industrial side for a small amount of time, helping Airtight Facilitech, which is a service logic company, going through projects and things like that at the airport. So it was a tremendous amount of knowledge that was held there with a facet of every kind of system you can possibly see. But primarily residential, that's kind of my wheelhouse. That's where I've been. I started out at 14 years old, dating the daughter, which would be my wife, and went from being a tool fetcher to a installer to service to sales to operations. So
That's awesome, man. That kind of sounds close to my story, except for working at Bluon. You know, working my way up. So let me ask you this. And I guess just so we don't talk over each other, it doesn't matter who starts. We'll let you go first, Logan. Do you what I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this. What is the most common call? Like, is there a most common call that you get when taking calls?
Absolutely. 24-volt shorts. That's going to be the most common call.
How about you, Mike? What's your most common call? Same?
Yeah, I think, right now we're getting, to the end of the heating or the cooling season. And as we start going into the cooling or the heating season is, I can't get, the board to work. I got 5 flashes. What do I do? So we do a ton of the helping them out with the furnaces and things of that nature.
Nice. So you would say, like, let's just say if we had to put a percentage, I know it's hard to do this, but is 60% of those calls residential?
Actually, we
More.
about probably about 25% of what we do is considered over 20 tons.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's larger equipment, the chillers. Dennis, one of our chiller guys, Mark, who I was telling you about, also one of our chiller guys. I kind of dabble in that end of it. We also help with the refrigeration, freezers, and things of that nature as well.
Yep.
Nice. Oh, so you guys even give technical support for like refrigeration stuff?
Uh-huh.
We do. We do have refrigeration guys. Yep.
Oh, sweet. I see. I didn't know that. I keep learning something every time I talk to you guys because I didn't know that. Um, so out of the whole team, I asked this because, and I only say this because some of the people in the chat, and I always tell them this is just feedback, and you need feedback to grow. And people always say that they love their residential like support is amazing, but they said sometimes like is there more residential knowledge than commercial, or is it like how is it separated? Is there a whole bunch of like guys that do everything kind of deal?
I would
Yeah.
say primarily a lot of our guys have residential knowledge. Some of them were pretty much specialized mainly in 20 plus ton equipment. But they still have a pretty vast knowledge on the residential side until you get to the nuances of inverters and communication. But that's the magic of the team is that if they don't know the particular system, then they're going to get you to the person who does.
Well, and that's what I've said when I've told some people, and I think some of the commercial guys were just kind of like afraid to call in because everybody just assumed that it was residential. And I'm like, I didn't know you did refrigeration, but I was like, no, guys, like they do everything, you know? I mean, and I know the people that I've talked to, like you can call for everything. And God forbid you get a person, they're going to get you to somebody, like same thing you just said, somebody who can help you with your problem. So that's the reason I asked that question because I know a lot of people were talking about it last time in the chat is, well, what if I work on only commercial stuff? And I'm like, you're good too. Like you should have no problem. Go ahead and give them a call. So let's just say I'm trying to think of run of the mill because I want, obviously the point of this is I want people to meet you guys and know those faces when they're calling and to understand how powerful of a resource you guys are. So when I say that read at the beginning, like I mean that wholeheartedly. Like I don't know why any technician out there would not have the Bluon app on their phone. I mean, if they say you guys said, oh, it's $3 a month. Okay, they can make the excuse I can't afford $3 a month. It is free. It literally takes you 10 minutes to download the app, become a Bluon Pro member, and that's a wrap. That's all you got to do. Sorry, going through some of these comments. Guys, if you have questions or something you would like to ask these gentlemen, please go ahead. You can put it in the comments. So let's say, for example, like a phone call and somebody calls you for like a low voltage short. Like how long are you on the phone for? An hour, 2 hours? Like what is the longest call that you've been on?
Go ahead, Mike.
I've had a couple pretty long ones in excess of 2 hours where the person was trying to explain to me, but Mike, it's the pink wire that goes next to the short black wire that goes around this screw and back around here. And I'm like, okay, do me a favor, grab the white wire and just start following it out. Okay, when you get to this point, I want you to take your meter and read from here to here. You know, In most cases, what we'll do is we'll turn around, and if we're working on an electrical problem, we'll turn around and make sure that we have the same schematic that they have. A lot of times they'll have a unit that, there's not a wiring diagram. So we have them take a picture and send that over to us. Now we're looking at the same thing. And it's like, okay, do you see this point and this point? I want you to put your meter on voltage, 24 volts, and I want you to read from here to here. So now we're walking them through the problem a step at a time. And we're explaining what we're doing. I mean, we get a lot of youngsters, and I get these young guys. I mean, I'm 65. I've been doing this almost 50 years. And I get these young guys calling, and they're like, oh, but I'm new in the trade. Okay, cool. So welcome to the trade. I hope you have as much fun as I've had. And now let's get you through this. And it's just, I mean, it is unbelievably rewarding to be able to help them and get them through it, and to help them to understand why they're doing some of the things that they're doing to solve the problem.
That's awesome. And it's good for those young guys, because I won't even get into the whole trade school training thing, because that'll be a whole fucking podcast by itself. But I do feel like there's a lot of young guys out there that have been thrown out, and a lot of them feel alone because they're afraid to call their boss or their supervisor, because they don't want them to know that they don't know. And that's what I want them to know, that they have you as a resource. That I get it. They may feel dumb asking a question. And if you're a seasoned guy and you hear it, you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But, we all started somewhere,
Well, I think back to when I had mentors and stuff, and there were some people that along the years have made a huge difference in my career and everything else. And I've talked to Logan, and I've talked to a couple of our other guys. And I know this guy came to work and he's like, oh my God, what is this dumbass going to do today? But they never said it. They never once said it. It's okay, let's dive in, and I'm going to show you this stuff. And, it's our time to give back, because we've had people give to us. Now it's our time to give back and help the next generation.
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's pretty constant. I mean, it's funny on the residential side. It's the most time that I get that comment, I think it's a dumb question. It's normally most of the senior technicians. They're spent. They've been on this job for a long amount of time, either on a rooftop or in a bad situation. It's the end of the day. I mean, their mind is gone. I mean, they're still just trying to figure out what's in front of them. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're the ones who feel like they're having that dumb question, but there's not a dumb question, because we've all been in the same boat. I mean, there's many different conditions to where we're at and we're working. So you never know how your day's been until you get there. But being able to work through that problem and having the extra help, that's really something that they look to be able to help them.
Yeah, well, and you think, so a couple of things I love about you guys is that you have people from different regions. You're all over the place, because sometimes there's certain issues that are kind of regional that you deal with. Like in Florida, a lot of line sets go underneath the house. They're run through PVC pipe, and probably a bad example, but there's things to region. So you have guys with those kind of know-how of those certain little areas. And then the other thing is, like I always tell, our team at Beltway is, I don't care if you make mistakes. I could give 2 shits. I don't care. I want you to make new mistakes. I want you to make a mistake, learn from it. Make a mistake, learn from it. That's how you get better. That's how we all grow. And if any of these super techs you see on social media, nobody knows everything. I mean, I don't care how long you've been doing it. Nobody knows everything. There's always something to learn in this industry. And the fact that we want to give back to be able to help other people. We're all a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a family, and being able to give back and help. I feel like we got to a point where too many people wanted to hoard their knowledge. They felt like helping somebody else was going to hurt them in some way, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I really think that's how people felt.
Gil, one of the things I'd like to throw in is we've got the forum on the Bluon app. And every time I do a training or anything like that, and there's old guys in the room, I look at them and say, hey, you need to get on the forum and you need to answer some of these questions and share your knowledge, because that's a place where somebody can go, they can ask a question, and a lot of people comment. And I'll tell you, the one thing that we don't tolerate on the forum is there's no putting people down. There's no degrading anybody. That bullshit don't fly, because it's all about, and I don't want to call it a safe space, because, I definitely don't, not into that, but it's a place where people are respected and treated fairly, And the goal is to help them, you know, to move forward. So that
Yeah, and
forum's
it
a really
doesn't
good
matter.
place to look.
And it doesn't matter how many years experience they have. They could still be a student in school, that is going through trade school right now and trying to figure things out. I mean, we help students all the time who call in and ask questions about maybe a test that they have coming up. I mean, we've even helped technicians, young techs through those. So, I mean, I've always said it, in this industry, there's two kinds of technicians. There's the one who is going to take all his knowledge to the grave with him, and the one who's going to share it along the way. So, I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, and you're right, Logan. I mean, I feel like I'm one of those people that I don't know everything. I've had some good mentors to learn from. I had my dad when he was still around, but I feel like as I help other people and I try to teach, it makes me better. And I said this last podcast, and I repeat myself a lot, is, Mr. Jim Bergman made a comment where he said, you don't really know something till you have to teach it to somebody else. And as I help other people, I find that it just helps my knowledge. It really helps my understanding of something. So I've actually taken that approach to how I teach my team is, when something is the refrigeration cycle, being able to draw it on a board is one thing, but truly knowing it is a different thing, So I tell them, okay, when the refrigerant leaves, it's at this point. What is it? What is it doing? And I want them to be able to answer it so that way when they get into a real world situation, they actually know what's going on. Like my guys know if they call me with a refrigerant issue and I say, well, give me the info. And if they just give me pressures, I'll hang up on them. And they'll call me back. I'm like, don't give me half the equation and expect me to solve it. I want pressures, superheat, subcooling. I want everything, whatever your delta T is, like give me all the information. So just teaching people to be thorough and just having pride in what they do. Because this industry can give you so much. It really can. I've been grateful this industry has given me so much. I never thought this podcast would be what it is. I never thought people want to listen to this dumb fuck talk, but apparently they do. But I know one of the things we wanted to cover with some of the issues is going over, some electrical issues. So I guess I'll start with you this time, Mr. Mike. What is some of the most common, I guess, give me one of the common electrical issues that you see the most and how, what the correction is to try to help people out there?
One of the ones that drives me nuts is I'll get a guy that'll turn around and he'll go, okay, Mike, I read from this fuse to ground and I got 120, and I read from over here to ground and I got 120, so I have to have 240. And I'm like, no, you're probably reading through the transformer. Let's read from one fuse to the other fuse. Let's see if we got 240. And they go, well, I don't need to do that because I got 120 and 120, but they're reading the same phase twice, And one of the other ones is like the common of the transformer, and I can be a little bit sarcastic from time to time, but I want them to learn. And I say, okay, so which color wire on the transformer is the common? Well, it's the blue one. It's the yellow one. It's this, it's that. And I go, is it? It's not. It's just whichever one you happen to tie to ground is your common. End of story. And so by starting to walk them through that, and most of us have got whiteboards in our office and everything where you can go over and draw something up to them and say, okay, look at this. I want you to see this and understand this. And they look at it and they go, oh, I get this. So it's really about trying to get them to learn, because I already know the answers. And if that's all they want to do is call and get the answer, okay. But if they want to understand why they're reading what they're reading, it's a whole different thing, because you can just hear some of them. They're like, oh, shit, I get this. This makes sense now. There is nothing better than that.
The aha moment.
Yep. And trying to, it's scary when you can actually hear the deer in the headlights through the phone. You're like, oh, shit.
Whoops.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, plus, and also getting them to understand that common is just like, guys think that the common, like they're all the same thing. I'm like, it's the common point of that circuit. It doesn't mean that all commons are the same thing. So trying to explain that. Now, before I let you go, Logan, sorry. We had one of our our junior techs, and he's like a duct cleaner and stuff, but he's a smart kid. So we let him do little things, and he went to install like a Remy Halo and how it comes with the transformer. And he's like, Gil, I don't know what's going on here. It's blowing the transformer. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, how did you wire it? And he's like, I wired it up the way it's supposed to be. I'm like, all right, well, explain to me the way it's supposed to be. And he said, yeah, I got the two wires, the side with the two wires going to 115. And then the other side, I said, whoa. I said, the side that's only got two wires is the 24 volt side. I'm like, the side that's got a whole bunch of wires is the one for your high voltage. He was like, shit. He was like, all right, I'll call you back.
I got to tell you one along those lines. I got a youngster who called me and he says, I've jumped everything out and I can't get it to work. And I says, okay, well, what have you jumped out? And he says, well, I jumped all the wires. And when I got to the transformer and jumped those, it kind of popped and there was a smoke come out. And I'm like, okay, so now we need a new transformer and then call me when you get it in and we'll go from there.
That's hilarious.
It's funny to us, but it was a serious thing to them. And, we can joke and kid around and everything, but the whole thing is to help them,
yes.
And to explain to them what they did and what happened and everything. Because I've had guys say, Mike, how did you get really, really good at this stuff? And I says, okay, you ready? And they go, yeah. I says, I broke lots of shit.
Yep.
And it's that simple.
That's what my dad used to always, my dad and the old guys that taught me back in the day when I started in all like industrial, commercial, kitchen equipment, refrigeration. And they used to always tell me, they said, the only difference between me and you is I've fucked up way more shit than you have. That's what they used to tell me.
And they're right. And they are right.
and it makes you feel good as a young guy, especially from people you respect, that you don't got to be walking around with your butthole all tight, scared to make a mistake, because that's when you're going to make mistakes. The
question is, what did you learn from that mistake?
Exactly. Go ahead, Logan. Sorry, I know I've been interrupting you here for 10 minutes, buddy.
Oh, you're good, man. Yeah, I mean, the main issue that we get on a common occurrence is going to be technicians reading low voltage between red and white. That is a everyday situation. So they're always reading constant 24 volts, even when they're not getting 24 volts to a certain call. They're getting it because they're reading between red. So, I mean, correcting those issues, those are big things. I think they've kind of taken that concept that you can jump red to white to be able to power the system on, that way, but they're reading their voltage through red and white, and that's never getting us down the road where we need to be at.
No, that makes sense. So you guys, and I know there's two sides to it, and I guess there's really no right or wrong way. When you have the guys check for voltage, do you have them go between like common and G, common and white, and look for voltage, or between R and whatever and look for the absence of voltage? Because I know some people do it both ways. I always thought looking for voltage was better, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, always looking for voltage, never through the absence. I mean, that's the way I've always been trained to do it. And, it's always led me, in the right path to get it fixed.
That's what I figured. I guess it was just nice to see other people's, opinion, especially guys that do tech support every day, because that's what I thought. I'd rather look for it than to not have it. I guess you can double check, but it just makes more sense to see something on your meter than, oh, I got 0, it's good. Right. So it's, I guess, real fast, some of you guys in the chat, I would love for you guys, and that's it, we're not trying to test anybody. I would love for you to, if you are a rookie and you're new in the trade, I would love for you to ask a question. And I mean, I'll answer, they answer, a common issue that you've had, and then we can try to talk about it live on air. Or if you're a senior guy, or you own a company or whatever your position is, what's one of the most common questions that you get? And then we can talk about it on here as well. That way you guys interact with far as what we're doing. I know I find a lot of young guys that they overthink things, especially like, I always say this, that I think if you really study and try hard within 5 years, you can be really good at this as far as in residential. I feel like too many guys learn just enough to be dangerous, and then they start rocking and rolling, and they quit the learning process. And all they do is just they hamper their process from going further. Forgot where I was going there for a second. My question is, what do you? I guess that would make sense. Christ, now I'm getting myself all confused here. What's this?
Well, Gil, one of the things that I try to do is I try to teach basics. Because on electrical, you basically have a series circuit, a parallel circuit, and then you start putting stuff together and getting series parallel circuits and all those kind of things. And one of the things I find is that, if you go into some of the train, bigger equipment and stuff, and you may have 10 or 20 pages of drawings, and they're like, oh shit. And it's like, no, go find the compressor contactor. Okay, let's find the compressor contactor. Now let's find out what's in that circuit, and try to get them away from the looking at this huge drawing and look at the little tiny part that is where they're at, and that helps them a lot.
Yeah, thank you, because that's where I was going at. Guys overthink, so they learn a little bit, and when they go out to a call, it's always like, I gotta check the compressor. Maybe it's the reversing valve, or I think it's the TXV, and it's like, whoa. Like, is it even calling to run? Do we have high voltage? Do we have low voltage? Like, learning the sequence of operations is important. And I guess sequence of operation is for no matter what you're doing, residential, commercial, industrial, it doesn't matter. And how powerful manuals are. So this goes out to my friend, Mr. Ben Poole, who does HVAC Tactical, and he has a shirt that says RTFM, read the fucking manual. And guys, it's not a knee pad. Like where I came up in management, my old boss, when guys would call and say, especially installers or even service guys, hey, I have this problem. Did you read the manual? No. Well, read the manual and call me back. And I was like, well, you could have answered it. He's like, but I guarantee they read the manual and they don't have to call me back. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's not, giving the answer, it's telling them how to get the answer. You know what I mean? Making them think for themselves. So it's, do you guys ever get it where you get the people that, obviously they're calling you for help, but they think they know more than they do kind of deal? Not to be in a negative light, but I'm just wondering if you get those people, because I know I've had them when I've tried to help.
You want that one, Logan?
Yeah, sure. I'll take that one. Yeah. Yes, we do. So they call in for, that second opinion or that second set of eyes. And then when you start questioning maybe some of the things that they have done or haven't done yet, they do like to kind of, push back a little bit, very small amounts of people, but yes, we do.
I figured that makes sense. I didn't even ask you. I forgot to ask you guys. I guess I'll start with you, Logan, since you're talking. You said you're in the Carolinas?
I am. South Carolina. Yep.
South Carolina. And you, Mr. Mike?
Mike, I'm Southern California.
Southern California. Oh, the SoCal. I like to visit California. Don't know if I could live there.
It has its challenges.
Yeah, I bet. It's really, really nice to visit, though. Let me ask you this: what if you could pick one? What is the hardest or most challenging call that you've ever had? I'll let you go, Mike, first. Sorry, I say Mr. Mike. It's out of habit. Just
Oh God. I think the hardest ones are when they start wanting to talk about colors, and they turn around and bounce colors around and everything else. And I'm like, stop. Okay, listen what I'm about to say. I don't give a fuck what color the wire is. I want to know where it starts and where it ends. And once I get them to that, but they're like, but it's a pink wire. Okay, dude, I don't use pink wire, so I don't know where the pink wire goes on the thermostat. I don't know where it ties in or anything. So tell me where it starts and where it finishes. And a lot of those can be very, very challenging. And that's why we try to get them to get a schematic so we're looking at the same schematic. Now I can say, okay, I want you to take your meter. I want to set it for AC voltage. We're going to be looking for 24 volts right here. And I want you to go from here to here. I think one of the other things that was a a huge challenge is the newer defrost control boards with the thermistors and everything. And they have a bad thermistor. And so they replace the defrost control board. They come back, they tie everything in, they turn it on, and it does the same thing. So then they turn around and they replace the defrost control board again. And I have done more explaining how a thermistor works and what it does and why it's there and its functionality. And I mean, you see them light up. You can just see them through the phone. And they're like, okay, I get it. So if I've got a shorted thermistor or an open thermistor, I'm telling it it's either hotter than shit or colder than shit. And so the board's just reacting to that. Yes. So when you go out on a board, always check your thermistors first. Get that out of the way, and they're like, wow, this is so, but nobody's ever taught them what these devices do and what they're there for and everything else. And like you talked about, the sequence, because if you understand the sequence, then it becomes very easy to determine, okay, if you think about a furnace, okay, you turn around and you get a call, you turn around and you bring on the inducer, then you make a pressure switch or something, then you go ahead and, hot surface igniter, boom, 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 boom. Well, if one of those things doesn't happen, the process stops and you start getting an LED flashing. Well, if you understand what it is, then you understand what was supposed to happen next, what didn't happen. And so by teaching them some of these things, because your basic furnace, you may have, like for the inducer side of it, you may have a pressure switch, a sail switch, a Hall effect CT, a centrifugal switch. It's all doing the same thing. It's saying, I've got an inducer motor and it's running and I'm good. Go to the next step. And so you get them through that kind of stuff and they're like, wow, this is so simple. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Jason Johnson, he's a very smart guy. He always watches all my videos. He said training carrier use demand defrost and it throws so many people off. It's funny he says that because I had a guy in a supply house one time that I was trying to help, and he said something about a heat pump. It was during the winter time, and he said he had he had something wrong with the R wire going outside to his heat pump, and he's like, "You don't need R anyway," so I just disconnected it. And I was like, it's never going to go into defrost. I'm like, you have to have R. That's what's going to control your defrost, your clock. I'm like, you need that. And he sat there and argued with me for 20 minutes. And I was like, dude, I was just trying to help you, man. Like, you do whatever you got to do. And then I saw him like 3 weeks later, and he was like, thank you. And I was like, it's cool, man. I was like, I was just trying to help, dude. I promise you. I wasn't trying to shit on anybody's parade. I was just trying to help. I've been there, done that. Trust me. But go ahead, Logan. What is one of the most challenging calls that you have gotten?
I mean, between communication systems, I mean, they're always the fun one, depending being care, rude, ream equipment. They always give you some fun stuff, especially when you have a technician that is not familiar with communication equipment. But the most fun that I've had, I had a 1 year. He was just about to turn 1 year in the trades. Technician from the Bay Area, working on a heat pump. He had never seen a heat pump before, and his company was the second company to come out on this call. The original installers installed it. It went through 2 or 3 seasons, and then they got fed up and they called another company. And this company decided to send their greatest tech that they possibly had. So he gets out there. The heat pump is completely wired wrong. I had to literally draw out the whole entire diagram for him on how to do it, send it to him. They weren't using a heat kit because it was in the Bay Area. So luckily we had another wire that we could use in some certain places. By the end of the call, which was probably about an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes later, we found out why the other company got fired from the job is because they never wired the heat pump up right. So every season they were getting called back, and the technician was reversing valve to shift it from Eco. And it also had a bad Ecobee thermostat on it, which absolutely about killed that damn young technician trying to figure that out, but we figured it out together. So bad wiring setup.
Yeah, that's You see that this okay, I got to ask this because I would love to hear tech support's opinion on this. I know how most of the techs I've talked to. What are your feelings about the Nest thermostat?
You're talking to the right guy here. I love a Nest thermostat because I'm strange like that.
Oh,
But I do have my boundaries. The new Nest thermostat, I do not like it.
yeah, I think they all deserve to be in the trash. Um, I think it's a great thermostat when it works.
Yeah.
That's when I like them. I just feel like it's
That's it.
you start getting to that 18-month, that year and a half, 18-month period. It starts. It remembers all right. It does whatever the fuck it wants to
Yeah.
do. It doesn't send power out on O. And I feel like there are so many calls. Like we had so many callbacks on them that it just got so bad, and we started using all the EcoBees. And then we started doing the what is it? It's like the premium one, the nicer one, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden those callbacks went away. Same technicians doing it, so I'm like, all right, well I can't yell at my guys. It wasn't something that they were doing wrong, and everybody in the comments is Nest sucks. And I just yeah, I never had an issue, and I know that people like them. They look good and stuff like that, especially with this Gen Z kind of people. But yeah, I was just curious to know your guys' opinion because I know talking to, like the technicians in the chat, and they all hate it.
Well, there's one good thing about a Nest is that if it does shit the bed, it makes a great hockey puck.
That's funny. Um, I guess we'll I'm trying to think of a topic to do without you guys just sitting here talking about your phone calls. One thing I wanted to say that I really give to you guys is tech support is not a simple thing to do, and it's not just knowing what you're doing. Like you guys were saying before, it's the communication part, because I can only imagine that you only know what they tell you. And maybe, you don't, okay, this guy's like you were saying, Mike, that he's telling me this wire. Well, that doesn't make sense. Trying to get the proper information. Like if everybody called you and gave you all the right information, okay, well, tech support might not be as hard. But that communication part, trying to make sure you're extracting the correct information, it's got to be pretty tough sometimes, especially when it's newer guys because they're nervous. They don't know what they're doing, so I can only imagine how that part is.
I think one of the hardest things for a person to go into tech support, and it was really hard for me because when I was at Multistack, we had set up one of the first web-based controllers. Well, I'm used to going up to a machine, feeling under the heads, grabbing suction lines, listening to things and everything else. And I can't do this anymore. I have to quantify everything. I have to look at numbers. I can no longer feel things. So for a technician to learn how to ask for the information he needs, we just came up with a form not too long back because like you said, you want to know all the information when your guys call into you. Well, it's critical because I've listened to some guys fighting with a system, and I say, okay, what's your superheat you're going for? Well, 12 degrees. Okay, so you have a TXV? No, I got a piston. Okay, 12 degrees ain't going to cut it all the time. So you have to get them to know, hey, I need a target superheat, and show them how to get there. You need to get your airflow. You need to get your delta T. And I I hate when they tell me my superheat's good. Okay, well, what does that mean? You know, give me the numbers. We had one of our techs the other day was helping a guy out, and the guy says, okay, well, here's my superheat and subcool, and he goes, no, give me the pressure and the temperature. I wanna do this, and he goes, no, I'm telling you what it is, and he says, no, I want to do this, and the guy goes, fine, here's the numbers, and our tech says, okay, now I thought you said we were working with 410. He goes, well, we are. He goes, I bet you got your gauges on R22. And so you're using the R22 PT chart within the field piece gauges. And he goes, son of a bitch, I'm good. Thank you. You know, so our guys are really, really good at getting all of the information and identifying everything up front. On the refrigeration cycle, they're getting, pressures, temperatures, wet bulb, dry bulb, all these kind of things. And then they're able to go in and do a good diagnosis. On the electrical side, like I've said a couple times, we get the schematic, so we're looking at the same thing. And then you ask the question, okay, what was the reason for your service call out there? Why are you out there? Like I had one the other day. He goes up on a surgery center, and he goes, I got 2 units, neither one of them are running. I says, and they both stopped at the same time. And he goes, yeah. He says, I just don't get it. I says, let's go look at the smoke detectors because that's the only thing that's really common, to the space. And he goes, yeah. He says, I went and read across it and it's open. Okay, so now you need to find out what you need to do to reset those, if there's a procedure because it was a surgery center, okay, so what is their policy for resetting and everything? And, he called me back and he says, dude, everything's running fine. Don't know what caused it to kick, but, because of the fact they were looking for something common between the two. And so Dennis, who you had on the last time, he and I talk all the time, you're walking up to a piece of equipment on the roof, you're listening. Okay, what do I hear going on? Is the blower running? What's the condenser look like? What's my outdoor temperature? What's going on? So I've got an idea of what to expect when I get to that machine. I turn around and the machine's in cooling. I wave my hand across the condenser and it's cold. Okay, I don't have a compressor running. Oh, let's go find out what's going on there. So you're looking for the stuff before you ever get to the unit while you're still 10 feet away.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I tell technicians all the time, I'm colorblind here. You gotta be my set of eyes to be able to walk me through what you're actually seeing because I don't know if another technician's been there before you and they changed wiring around, changed the color. It could be anything. So I need to know what goes from A to B, and that's where we need to start from.
Yep.
No, that makes sense. One of our guys in here asked this question. I mean, it's not really a tech support question, but I'll get your opinion. He asked, he's a newer technician. How long before you would let a newer tech go on his own? My answer to that is there's no set time. It's, it depends on the technician.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there has to be constant training.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a tech that's starting, and all you do is have him change filters for a year, and then say, okay, go run service calls. He hasn't gotten any exposure. You have a tech that's working with a journeyman, and he's getting the basics of the equipment. This kid can now go out there and he's got the basics. So he's like, okay, well, this should be happening and this shouldn't be happening, but this isn't happening. So he can move from there. I've always believed that, we learn the basics and then you turn around and you get a little bit of experience. And that's scarier than shit because now I know everything. And the thing is, the good technicians are the ones that are working on their basics. They get a little bit of experience and now they start applying their basics. Because I don't care how big the system gets, the basics are still the same.
Yep.
So,
yeah. And being fortunate, I mean, in my situation with the family business, obviously my father-in-law, he was well vested in, what was going on with the business and how calls were being ran. So, he was a great guidance tool, for me in my younger years of me actually being with him and actually him teaching me and showing me everything that he knew to be able to pass that down to me. So that was a great resource there. But then stepping into the commercial side, I had really great help there. And now, obviously at Bluon, I got guys like Mike and Brian, Dennis, all of those guys that have, a lot of years of experience in the field to be able to share it with.
Yeah, I said this story last time. I love learning from my dad, and I cherish those moments that I spent with him. And I was kind of backwards, commercial, industrial, stuff like that, and then backing my way into residential. Most of the time, it's reverse. But I left my dad. I got a little ballsy, thought I knew more than I did. I left my dad and went to work for another company. I would literally call my dad on every call that I went to. He was my tech support. Until finally my dad said, hey, man, you going to give me half your paycheck at the end of the week? And he was like, son, you are never going to learn if you call me every time. He was like, I love you. Don't call me unless it's an emergency. You want to talk about it after work? You know where I live. Click. I was like, motherfucker. It's the best thing he could have ever done for me. Because I got so sick and tired of walking up to units and not knowing. And it almost created like, I was infatuated with it. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know the why behind the what. And that's when I started reading manuals and, YouTube videos and whatever, books, because I wanted to try to learn. And I feel like every tech has that aha moment. Like we said earlier, the sooner the better. But hey, if it happens to be at year 7, year 8, as long as you have it, that's all that matters,
Yep.
You know what's funny? You talk about having YouTube and everything else. All you younger guys are fucking lucky. We didn't have none of that shit. You had a bunch of manuals in a room, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be working on this today. I got to take that manual with me. The biggest teacher was being on a roof at 3 o'clock in the morning and nobody to call. You learned so damn much up there because you're like, shit, this thing's got to be on at 6 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck am I going to do? That is a learning experience.
I can only imagine, because I remember when I first started before GPS, and I had to read maps, and and that was commercial, because you can pull up to a gas station and be like, hey, is there a Costco up here, up the street? Oh yeah, but you can't pull up and be like, you know where Miss Johnson lives? I mean, so I can only imagine with the maps, because I was horrible with that.
Do you remember the old Thomas guides?
Oh, I do. I do. I hate them. Yeah, so it's funny as you said that, somebody was putting Thomas Guide in the chat. That's hilarious.
Somebody I can relate to.
That is hilarious. I would love, so I guess I like passing on to you a lot of questions that come to me, and I've expressed my opinions numerous times, but what do you guys say to all the people out there that are all nervous and worried about all this A2L refrigerant stuff? What would you say to them? What would be your message? Whoever wants to start, doesn't matter.
I'll take that one.
Take it, Mike.
I noticed something really kind of funny last night, because I was going through an article, and they were talking about 454B and R32 as a direct replacement for 410. And so I just kind of started looking at a few things. Now, R32 in an old HVAC refrigeration manual is an A2. Now, if you go look at things today, it's an A2L.
Oh.
So did the flammability change, or am I missing something here? I mean, I don't know. But what scares the hell out of me, because I remember when R12 was going away and people were dumping propane in on top of the R12. And so now you turn around and you recover, and the propane gets really, really cold, and it sits there, it'll be in a vacuum, and it's colder than shit. So now the kid starts heating things up and everything, and all of a sudden he breaks the line loose off the compressor, and he's got one hell of a flash and getting burned. This scares the hell out of me, because when we went to 410, everybody was on board. They had the little Puron and the carrier trucks and the little Leaf coming down, and everybody was on board. And right now, it doesn't seem like anybody knows what the hell's going on, because the big push was going to be going to HFO refrigerants. That kind of got shot in the ass. So, we're going to have to learn to work with it. They're talking about right now the R32 and the 454B being limited to 6.5 pounds, which I don't know what that's going to do with larger stuff and everything else. But I worry about the youngsters, because I was burned as a kid, 35% third-degree burns, and it was hell. And so thinking about some of these youngsters getting burned and getting hurt is what scares me, because I've heard of people putting 32 and 410 machines, and the one guy I talked to the other day goes, yeah, we did it. He says it just blew the fucking terminals right out of there, big fucking flash fire. This stuff scares me.
Well, what gets me, and I'll let you go, Logan. I'm sorry, I forget fast. So it's, what gets me is, until I started doing this podcast, I didn't know that there is more states that, don't require licensing than do. So if you're going to add things like this, we should maybe up the standards a little bit for what we expect of technicians, as far as all the states should require an apprentice, a journeyman, a master's license. That should be standard. Like, I love how Canada does it with like their Red Seal technicians. I think Canada does it good, and even parts of Europe. They need to mandate that across the United States, that this is the standards by which what we're going to do things. Then when you make these changes, I don't think it's as big of a deal, but you have this, as far as the level of what people know, because Pennsylvania, right by me, There is no licensing. Trust me. I have a dipshit brother-in-law out there running around fucking things up. I said this the last podcast. I could make a business just trying to go to his customers and fix his shit. So that's what scares me. The ignorance, the people that don't know, and not even that they don't know, they're not even willing to know. They're just going to keep faking it till they make it. That's what scares me. And like you said, somebody's going to get themselves hurt or a customer hurt. As far as the refrigerants, I'm not, I think they've been doing this in Europe for a while, so it's not like it's new, but I just feel like there needs to be like at first I heard, oh, you have to get your EPA card has to get, revised. You have to take another class. And then people were like, no, you don't have to do that. So we're just making these changes, but we're not changing anything about what we're doing or what we have to know. It's just figure it the fuck out. Like, I just think that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched on TV? Go ahead.
This time is far different than the last transition we went through. I mean, we are coming up on 2023, and there's a lot of companies and technicians out there that still haven't had the first individual sets of training for the new refrigerants that's coming up. My biggest concern there is some of the other changes that are coming on the back end. I mean, we don't know yet until they start telling us those kind of changes, but we're talking about a mildly flammable refrigerant. So now, I mean, there's going to be some changes that are going to have to be made. And it's not only going to be coming from the tools that you carry on your truck.
Well, is it bad that when you tell me something's flammable, I want to see it's flammable? Like, it makes you want to go whoosh, just to see what happens?
We did it. Pete could probably send you the video.
Matter of fact, now that you say that, he actually told me. He said something about that when me and him did our podcast together. He said, yeah, we actually did it in a controlled lab.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a story he's using.
Yeah, it's an interesting experiment. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me. It's like, I get it with the whole, ozone layer and the global, what it does to the, the ozone and how they want to make one that's better for the environment. Like, that's fine. I just feel like, and I also don't like this time, like we went from 22, or even like it was 12, it was 22. 22, it was 410. And then now it's 410, it's, oh, well, some might use R54B, some might use 32. Because I know, like, the Daikin Corporation is using R32. I'm pretty sure, I think Carrier, I think Train is using R454B. Now, what are we going to carry? Fucking, tractor trailers behind us carrying refrigerant? It's just, I feel like we're complicating things when we don't have to. And I feel like we're behind as an industry. I feel like we should be so much further along than we are. And then they just, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, well, who the fuck decided that?
Yeah, well, I have a great example of what's going on is the call that I answered from the technician in Washington State that had a mini split, a brand new mini split that he was working on, that they had the custom order for this manufacturer. They had a manufacturing facility. They had to custom order it from overseas. It came off the freighter. It was agreed. And it had R32 in it, and the technician was getting ready to add some R410A into it. So there was definitely some issue there, but there's, it's just a lack of knowledge. I mean, they're not sharing the knowledge. It's still up in the air on who's going to have what refrigerant. I mean, even a lot of friends that I have in the industry didn't even know that, one particular brand or the other is going to have what refrigerant. They still don't know yet.
I don't think a lot of the manufacturers know.
Sorry, it was me. I was trying to find it on Facebook. I didn't mean that was my interruption. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys message in a lot of these groups and they get worried about it. And, obviously I don't want anybody to be scared of anything. And my advice to all of them is always just educate yourself and try to be as educated as you possibly can before it happens. I mean, that's all that we can really do, that we're constantly evolving. Like something as small as I remember first starting with my dad, whether it's right or wrong, vacuum pumps, we'd hook the vacuum pump up. You're pulling through a manifold. You let that pump run for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the size of the system. Looks good. you call it a day, and now it's the True Blue hoses, the Appion hoses. You're pulling down below 500 microns. You're brazing with nitrogen, or people say they braze with nitrogen, you fucking liars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like you
Yeah.
have to constantly keep evolving, and it's like with anything else. So don't be scared of it. Just like I said, educate yourself.
Well, Dennis has got a great video on push-pull recovery, and that's going to be very, very important, starting with new refrigerants, is making sure that the guys are pushing through with nitrogen to clear everything out. Because the days of sweating a compressor out, those days are over very soon. Where there's no more sweating the compressor out because you're going to get burnt.
Do you think they're
Well,
all
you
going to
know,
be like Rotolock compressors, or it's just you're going to have to, you know,
I mean, Rotolux is a possibility. There's other possibilities. I mean, it was interesting when Field Piece went to their recovery units, and they cut out at 120 degrees now. I'm like, why are we cutting out at 120 degrees? Well, we have to be concerned about the new refrigerants. So they're looking at heat as far as that goes. I mean, many, many, many years ago, when you were both just a sparkle in your daddy's eye, I was working in a hospital and we had a blood bank freezer. And it was actually butane as the primary refrigerant and R22 as the secondary on a cascade system. And the procedure that you had to go through to do any brazing on that, it was like a 2 or 3 day process,
mm,
you know? And, I mean, it was posted right on the wall of the machine and everything. You have to do this, 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 and this. And that was great. But what scares me is there is no governing body that's going to say, you want this R32? You're going to take this test, you're going to have this equipment. Otherwise, you're not touching it.
yeah.
But the problem is everybody's going to be able to dive into this stuff. And, what's it going to take? I mean, why did they put odor in natural gas? Because natural gas is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. I think if I remember right, it was a school in Oklahoma filled up the basement with a girls' school, and several girls were killed. So all of a sudden, they start putting an odorizer in there to protect it. And what scares me is how many young techs are going to need to get hurt or killed before we start putting some standards out there to protect them.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
I know some of my friends that do some of the refrigeration stuff, like R290. A lot of them, they'll recover the refrigerant and then they always cut compressors out. They're never brazing it or taking it, sweating it out. And before I forget, I was gonna say my first vacuum pump was a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket full of water. So that was the first vacuum pump.
Well, back in the day, the way we used to cut stuff out was with a Sawzall and turn around and you just cut the line and there goes the refrigerant. And people say, well, don't you think you should have used a recovery machine? We didn't have recovery machines back then. My first recovery machine was like 10 grand. I mean, it's so fucking big, you had to put it on a fucking dolly,
Problem was, Mike, you just couldn't catch it fast enough.
That's funny. I guess, damn, see, time always goes. We're already past an hour, but if you guys are gentlemen are good, we got a few,
I'm good.
yeah, a few more
Good to
things.
go.
Guys, let me see, make sure nobody's asked. I asked people to ask questions in the comments and then never looked at it again. Glide, remember it, study it, learn it. Yeah, DIY, I mean, the do-it-yourself people. Well, those people shouldn't touch it anyway, but, I'm worried about guys that are actually in the field, but those people are going to get hurt as well.
I've seen some interesting changes coming up. I've been diving into a lot of stuff on the VRF and the mini split side. So there's a lot of changes with the refrigerants that are already coming up, being like air to water heat pumps are becoming more of a thing. So now you don't have refrigerant on the inside of the building or the house. You have it only outdoors. And then also, like for some commercial buildings, there's a code now I'm not sure the exact code, but there is one that I was reading about that has VRF technology that's actually making a hybrid VRF. So on a large building, you're going to have some units with refrigerant, but you only have a certain amount of refrigerant you can have, and the other stuff is going to be water, like chiller based indoor mini split heads and things.
Yeah.
But you're changing the whole technology and everything else. I mean, you're going to the indirect refrigerants, i.e. water, and that's all great and everything. I mean, Pete and I had this conversation 5 years ago. Can you put a flammable piece of equipment in a building? And I says, no, I'm going to put it on the roof and pipe chill water. I'm going to put it in the parking lot and pipe chill water. That's great on a 10-story building. I am not necessarily going to be able to do that in a residential, environment. So, it's going to get unbelievably interesting. And the problem is, I'll be the conspiracy theorist here, is the government should be doing regulations and things like this to protect people in the industry. They're not doing anything. I mean, they're doing absolutely nothing. And so,
They'll
I
raid
have
your
no
house.
Problem.
Though. Sorry, let me.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
shouldn't have said that. I should have said that.
But I was thinking it. So, but, I mean, the thing is, okay, fine. You want to work on R30C? You want to work on 454B? Great. I'm fine with that. But you need to go and take a class. And the one thing that I think is encouraging is that there are a lot of good people in this industry that are doing a bunch of YouTube videos and all this other stuff. Now, I would like to see something a lot more formal than that. But you know what? If there's a good video that you can go watch on working with the flammable refrigerants and procedures for doing things, go look at it. It doesn't cost you anything. Because,
Right.
You going home at night is your responsibility.
Amen.
You're going home safe at night is your responsibility. So go look at the YouTube videos. I mean, I bitch. I'm old. It's funny. We got Caitlin in here, who's a sweetheart. She's my conscience. And when I have iPad problems and phone problems, and it's like, Caitlin, and she comes up and takes care of me. But seriously, there's a lot of YouTube stuff out there. There's a lot of good people posting a lot of good things. And don't just watch one. Watch several different ones to try to get a better perspective. Because you guys staying safe, I mean, it's not going to be long. You ever look at all the commercials on TV? Oh, if you were here during such and such a time, call this law firm because we're going to sue the shit out of everybody. How long is it going to be before we have that in refrigerators?
Yeah.
You got 454B? Give us a call. We're going to sue the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, you got mushrooms growing out of your ass. It's because of this. It's
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're right though, and I think that there has to be like, I don't know. That's what really pisses me off is somebody who loves this trade like so many other people do. That I feel like they really don't give a shit, and the government mandates that come are just there we did it, and there's no rhyme or reason behind it. And well, we know that there's a reason behind it, but the definition they give you is dog shit. It's like, okay, well, if that's what you're worried about, then why the fuck are we doing this? You know what I mean?
Gil, are you telling me we can't trust the government?
Yes. It's just, or if you want to have all these different fucking 9 million agencies, then make a legit one that actually worries about what we do and, mandate what trade schools teach. Make there be a curriculum that has to be taught to everybody. It's just getting into this industry. Go ahead.
You talked about Pete, okay? And one of the questions that Pete has had, because you've been in the trade, you've been in commercial and everything, so you know the relationship between technicians and engineers, okay? And Pete comes to Dennis and Mark, who are, as far as I'm concerned, they're top of the line guys and everything. And Pete says, hey, Dennis, hey, Mark, I want to talk to you. I want to better understand how technicians feel. And then when he gets done talking to them, he says, okay, how do we reach all these people and change the industry? How do we make their lives better? And that's what Pete believes. I've been here since the beginning, and I know this to be the truth. So,
yes,
having somebody like Pete who gives a shit about us and wants to make things better for us, Logan, you can tell your own experiences, but this is how it is at Bluon. I mean,
that's the truth. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I even get
Full
that
of
vibe.
gratitude.
I'm sorry.
Full of
Luke.
gratitude. Salt of the earth. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And you get that vibe talking to him, you know. And I've talked to him several times, and every time I talk to him, like you can get that genuine, like he's very genuine about what he's saying, and that's what I love about it, and that's why it was so easy to do things like this, because I feel like we all want the same things, and you know, to try to give back. And even something as small as we're sitting here saying here that people need to be, you know, more training, to have more mandates, but why doesn't
Legitimate mandates.
Yeah, exactly, legitimate mandates, not the bullshit ones.
Right.
As far as licensing, what we're doing, I mean, think about it. When I talk to my friends who are like Australia or Canada, like in Canada, you can't put in 80% furnaces. It's got to be 90% or above. My friends in Australia, they actually, it's called the Air Conditioning Podcast. It's two brothers. They over there, I guess they don't have SEER. They call it something different. But I'm pretty sure like almost everything they put in has to be like, there's no single stage equipment. It has to be multi-stage or some kind of inverter technology. I just feel like the United States, like we're the best at so many things, but we fucking suck at this. Like we should be so much further along.
Yeah, that's what the next year or two is going to be coming to for us as well. I mean, so there's not going to be any more single stage compressors and AC voltage fan motors. I mean, everything's going to DC volt fan motors and two stage minimum. Your 14 SEER equipment will have two stage compressors on.
Nice. Well, I mean, and I'm glad, but I feel like why haven't we done that already though? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. If it was asked for me, everything should be an inverter.
Yeah, but I mean, back in the early days, Mark, you had a 27-month payback. You could get away with a supply fan, maybe a return fan, and with you had that cooling tower banging on and off, just beating the shit out of the belts and bearings and pulleys and everything else. Okay, you could talk them into that. But try doing it on the condenser fans that were 1.5 horsepower. It wasn't happening. And so as technology has evolved and variable speed drives have become a commodity, they can start doing all this stuff. But it wasn't out of the goodness of their heart or a competition to say, oh, look, I got a 35 SEER piece of equipment. It was, what do I have to meet to be able to sell this equipment? And so they've got the technology, and the inverter technology, you're 100% right, because, you know, the equipment we're running today, it's almost like putting the gas pedal all the way to the floor and controlling the speed with the brake. You know? So going to the inverter technology, you're only using the energy you need. So it's just, I think we're going to see a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just want, you know, and I just want things to make sense. I feel like every time guys start, you know, if you've been, obviously I feel like if you've been in the trade for a little bit, you have a little bit of time, you know, you're going to go through these changes, and that's fine. Change is scary, but change is good. You know, you got to be uncomfortable to grow. I get that. But like I said, it's the rhyme or reason behind it, and then the standards that we set. You know, like one of the biggest things that I get from young guys, and I'll ask, you know, I say young guys like I'm some old fuck, but I got gray beard.
That's me.
But so if these younger guys were asking you, hey, Mike, Logan, I'm looking to get in the trade, how should I get in? Should I go to trade school? Should I just find a company? What would be the path that you would recommend to them to do? And you guys, it doesn't matter who goes first.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I know like out here, we have the union locals and stuff, and the unions have got, you know, phenomenal training programs and everything else. The problem is not everybody can go union. There's a lot of the junior colleges that offer a 2-year program. I think it was down in Georgia and maybe Arizona, where if somebody's unemployed, then the unemployment will turn around and put them through a 3 or 6 month school. That's great, but it's not enough. And so maybe we need to do something, because, you know, you were going on about the trade schools and everything else. You know, for so long, and when I was growing up, it's like, son, if you don't go to college, you're a fucking idiot, you know? And I knew that college wasn't for me. I knew what I wanted to do. And the thing is, there is nothing not respectable about the air conditioning trade, the plumbing trade, the welding trade, the electrical trade. These are all respectable. And I got a newsflash for some of these college people with $100,000 in college debt. They pay a lot better too. So, I wish we could find a way to make sure that these young people get a good education on the equipment, because that way, what are we short? 100,000 technicians now? And the problem is we're losing 3 of the old guys like me for every 2 guys to come in with 3 to 6 months of trade school. We're losing a lot of the experience and everything else. And so I wish we would do something to make it better for our young people,
And
get them educated in that.
I love this saying, and it's not mine, it's somebody else's. But he said every time one of those older guys retires or whatever, a library burns down.
Mhm.
Because
yeah.
it is. All that knowledge is leaving the industry. So that's where, having something like you guys were like those guys, hey, maybe their bodies can't take it anymore, but you can still use them as a resource because of the wealth of knowledge that they have. And
Completely.
yeah, it's it's
Yeah,
go ahead.
there's a little tab at the top of the Bluon website that says careers on it. So if you're retiring and you're looking to give back, that's a great spot to go to be able to help out
Yep.
this industry,
I,
because they need it.
I
We
said
all
I'd
need
do it. Brian said he couldn't afford me. It's horse shit.
it. So, I mean, my biggest fear here is, I mean, we all know that we're short in the trades, but, we all know on the operational side for businesses, we have to have bodies and trucks. We have to
Yep.
have the manpower to be able to get these jobs done. So the lack of, training, that's a big, big, bad thing that's going on right now that we're trying to help with the best that we absolutely can every day.
Mm.
So, those technicians, we can't provide all those technicians, but we could definitely make the ones that are available in the company more efficient, by using that Bluon app, using the tools and calculators inside that Bluon app. And then also, if they're getting in pinches, they hit the forum or call us on tech support.
Amen. Jason Johnson says, and I'm glad he put this here. I'll put this comment up so you guys can see it. But my personal experience in residential was sell, sell, sell. It pushed me out the door. I'm glad it did. I love commercial, industrial, HVAC. It definitely feeds my drive and passion. And I will say this, that the commercial industrial work was more challenging as a tech. I'm glad that I just kind of fell into residential because I'm a good communicator. I love helping people. I like being that guy that saves the day. So that's what made me really love the residential side. And I get what he's saying, because there's a lot of places that do that. It's like, it's easier for me to teach them how to say A, B, C, D to a customer than it is to teach them how to fix it. I feel like some owners are getting lazy. We want to teach our guys. I want you to be thorough. I want you to check everything, present it to the customer. It's not our job to decide what they do. It's their money. It's their job to decide what they do. We're the experts telling them, this is what I found. This can wait. This is kind of important. I definitely would, take care of these if you can. And if the system is 15, 20 years old, be like, hey, it's this, I can get the system working. Maybe it's time to start putting some money away, just looking to replace it. If they say they want to replace it, great. If they don't, great. It's not my decision to make.
Well, there's a big misconception when it comes to sales and technician. A lot of people don't believe that those two marry up, but I have a great mentor, and you've had him on this podcast before, and his name is Uncle Joe Sarah. And I have been with him for years. He is my guy. So the whole concept of sales and technician, that's not a true, it's a misconception, because if you know how to do it the right way, it's all about being customer focused at the end of the day. And if you're able to provide the solutions for that customer, then it's not even like doing sales. You're just showing them what the window of opportunity is for things to get done. They're the one who chooses what they want to do or not.
Exactly. And every transaction, I hate to say it, is a sale. You go out and you change a capacitor and a contactor, you hand them a bill, they pay for it. Guess
Yeah,
what? You just sold them something. You know, that's just the nature of the beast.
that's right. Yeah,
And I feel like too many guys get
yep,
hold up on that. But I always tell them, if you worry about money, you'll never make it. If you worry about taking care of the customer
yep,
every time, it's amazing how your business will grow. We've done it at Beltway. I mean, we're only 4 years old, and we grew 260% last year. We're not perfect. I know there's companies out there crushing it, but we're trying to make it to be a good place to work where people are paid well, they're appreciated, they're taken care of, they love coming to work every day and trying to do things the right way. And I feel like people are like, oh, I'm stuck at this company. They treat me like shit. They want me to do this. They want me to do that. Then don't work there. You
yep,
are the valuable commodity right now, okay? You guys are the unicorn. So if that place is not making you happy, then go find some place that does. I mean, obviously do it the right way. I'm not advocating you to jump companies and be a hopper or
yep,
nothing, but let's
yep,
be honest. The first company everybody gets hired at is probably not the company you're going to finish your career at. That's just the way it
Right.
works. But I
yep,
promise you there's a company in your area that is doing things the right way. You just have to find them.
yep. That's right. I mean, there's a lot of residential companies on the side now too that are even catering to those guys who feel like sales is not their niche, and that's going to be more of like a warranty technician. They go out, they take care of the warranty issues. A lot of times they're the more complicated issues to be able to technically work through. So, there's a lot of companies that are doing that now. And then you also have your sales and your sales technicians, and then, your maintenance guys. But at the end of the day, you're right. If there's no sales, there's no business.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the driving force. And to be honest, people are like, even when they start out and maybe they're a maintenance tech, they don't realize that that's one of the most important jobs in the company because those maintenance and service contracts are the lifeblood of your company. If,
Yep.
say, for example, you want to sell it, they don't give revenue's great. That's okay. You did this much revenue, you made this much profit. That's great. You don't have any service contracts, you have no guaranteed customers.
Yep.
So doing maintenance is so important, and we've thrived on that. Like we want to try to be, Mr. Leland, the owner of Service Champions, how he said that, he's a maintenance company. Everything else just kind of falls in line. And I kind of love his
Yep.
philosophy. And that's why so many people have tried to mimic it. If you're just
Oh,
there to
yeah.
take care of the customer, take care of the system, guess what? If it breaks, they're going to call you. You're going to get that repair, because they trust you if your maintenance process actually goes. If they have to replace it, they're going to go with you because you built that relationship with them. The relationship always has to be there no matter what. And I feel like some people lose track of that sometimes. And,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
and they
Yeah.
see one person doing something wrong and it's a blanket statement. Like Jason made sure to say he didn't mean every residential company's like that. We got you, buddy. I
Right.
know you weren't talking shit. But when people say this, like, oh, it's selling techs. Okay, maybe we all know that there's some of those douchebags out there that are ripping off grandmas and stuff, and they're pieces of shit. And I hope they get COVID. But that's not all of them. You know what I mean? That's a small percentage of those guys that are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could ask the company right up the road from me here, Morris Jenkins, how important maintenance plans are for them. I mean, they are a single location. They produce probably over $100 million a year, and they have over 50,000 service contracts.
Holy dog shit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a big deal to them. I promise.
I bet the guy Jason said white shirt techs is what we call them. It's funny, and I'll get your guys' opinion. I was always told that the reason companies wear white shirts is so when they do something, it shows the dirt, like they got dirty. I mean, is that true? Am I wrong or?
Actually, the actual theory behind it is the white shirt is to the customer or to anyone, it's the sign of a professional. What color jacket does a doctor wear?
Yeah,
They
that's
wear
true.
white. They wear a white coat. So the white shirt is displaying the image of a true professional. Is how that concept came up.
I'm gonna go in wearing tie dye. Hey, sorry, sorry, I gotta stop. I get a
That-
little. I've been
Now,
sipping on this Bluon
that's
cup
the-
too much. I'm sorry.
That's the hippie technician.
If that's
Hey,
what you
nothing
wanna
wrong with that
call 'em.
hippie generation.
Yeah. The problem is the customer's going to think every damn thing's free.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll leave that at that.
That's funny.
Or they're going to pay, or they pay in hugs.
Yeah. Well, I find out there's a lot of I think it's funny that the customers a lot now that, they don't value what we do. Prime example is, and I know we're getting into an hour and a half, so I won't keep you too much longer, is, we had a guy go out. So we had a really bad storm here last Thursday. I mean, pouring down rain, lightning, thunder. I actually changed the condenser fan motor at my unit at my house, which sucked. I was drenched. But anyway, one of our service tech goes out to an emergency call, and we charge $199 for an emergency call. $99 comes to the company, $100 goes to the technician. If I'm going to take them from their family, I want them to get paid for it. But we don't have our rate is our rate. We don't change our prices whether it's emergency. Could be stupid, but it's worked so far. Anyway, they get out there. It's like an Airbnb kind of place, and we're dealing with the people who own the property. The wife is there. It ends up being the guy says the capacitor's bad, contactors kind of burnt and pitted. I would replace those, and then I would add a start assist, a hard start to it, and gives the price. And I think at the time, it was like $800-900 total for everything. The wife is she calls her husband and tells him, he's bitching up a storm over the phone. She hangs up on him, signs and approves to do the work, is so happy with our technician, gives him a $40 tip. Well, the husband calls in and says, you charge me $700 for a capacitor. I'm going to get you to the Better Business Bureau for, get price gouging and all this other stuff. Respond to his email. Sir, we actually didn't just charge you for a capacitor. We changed these 3 different parts. This was the breakdown. And his compliment, his thing was, oh, well, what your technician did wasn't that hard. It should have only been 20 minutes worth of work. And I haven't responded to him yet because I had to bite my tongue, because if I said what I wanted to say, then I got to worry about a 1-star review. But that's frustrating, because you wouldn't say that to your doctor. You know what I mean? You wouldn't say that to your lawyer. But guess what? That doctor's not going to do that surgery if his AC doesn't work. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, you almost want to ask the guy, well, then why didn't you fix it?
Exactly. It's,
Yeah.
And that's why some of these videos I want to...
Uncle Joe puts it a great way. You pay for the service. My service is what you paid for. The parts were free.
Yeah, I do love when he says that, what should we do? What should we do? Yeah, Uncle Joe's the man. I've had him on there. I love having him as a resource and being able to talk to him, because he does teach things the right way, and I recommend anybody to go see him if you have that communication issue. Because if you're in residential, you got to have the technical side, but you got to be able to communicate too. Because I know some guys that are great technicians, but the communication part's off, and when they leave, it's an overall bad experience for the customer. When the technician didn't mean to do that, they were trying. They don't know how to talk to people,
Yeah.
Yep.
So
at the end of the day, you have to honestly care. You have to care about that customer.
Yeah, you do. And that's what I liked. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I liked making those relationships and being that guy who saved the day, or, the husband got out of the, isn't sleeping on the couch tonight. Or you get the one that's always emergency call, and it's my wife's pregnant, and you go out there, it's like, what'd you impregnate her last night? Because she doesn't look pregnant to me, asshole. Just gonna wait until tomorrow. But anyway, we've been going. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on, man. I love having you guys on. I appreciate so much what you guys do, giving back to the industry, and I want to, which is part of this partnership, which I want to do anyways, to try to spread what you guys are doing, because it is a huge resource for people out there that, nobody has to know they call you. As long as the call gets taken care of, that's all that really matters. And that's why I want technicians to know. You don't have to tell anybody you call tech support. If you have an ego or you think it's going to make you look bad, just use the resource, help yourself, take the headache off you, call people who know what they're doing, and just know that that's there if you need it.
Absolutely. Yep. We're here 24/7, 365 days a year. It doesn't matter if you're on the job, if you're off the job, if you can't go to sleep at night because the job is bothering you and you can't figure it out,
You know,
you can call us. We're here waiting on you. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, if you guys want, I'll give you guys a couple of seconds each before I close this out. If you got a message or anything that you want to say to anybody listening.
well, I mean, I would just say, you know, it's such a pleasure to be part of this Bluon team because we do get to help the industry. I think we are changing the industry with, with the parts, with the tech support, and everything else. And it's just amazing to be here as part of this team where Peter actually cares and wants to change the industry because he cares about the technicians. And it's fucking mind blowing, because like your guy saying, oh yeah, it's simple. Anybody could have done that. Pete actually looks at each one of these techs here, and not only the techs, but everybody here. I don't care, what you do. He looks at every one of the people here, and he cares about what we have to say, and he listens. And I think that is one of the hugest things is when a person takes the time to listen to what you have to say. So this is an amazing place to be.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is why Bluon is what it is. It's because we're all built to serve, and that's what we enjoy doing is being able to serve, whether it be our technicians, our distributors, anyone who comes on our platform. If you need us, that's what we're here to do. That's what we thrive on is being able to serve.
That's awesome. And you guys definitely do that. And like I said, to anybody out there is, and me and Mr. Pete talked about this is some people had, something negative to say. One thing I love about Mr. Pete and all the Bluon guys, if you think that, oh, I wish they had this, or, I wish they did this, say something, speak up, because guess what? If there's something they don't have that people need a resource, guess what? They'll make it happen because when you talk to Mr. Pete, he's that kind of guy. So,
Yep.
if you have something to say or, hey, man, I wish you guys did this, or this, then say something. That's what these podcasts are for, those kind of things, and for you guys to be able to meet and put a face to these people and really see the experience and the knowledge of the guys that you're talking to when you pick up that phone and you call Bluon, and they're on the other side of the phone, and you have all these years experience just between the 2 sessions that we did, which we're going to keep doing these. This is a constant, series that we're going to do with Bluon. But you figure what? Between Brian, Dennis, Mike, and you guys, we have what, I guess between a couple of you, that's like 300 years experience. But we have, it's like, I'm just kidding. But you figure that's a shit ton of experience in the industry between just you 4 guys that I've done on these 2 interviews.
Yeah,
Over
probably talking 150
right here.
years.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's fucking free. I don't know how to say that. It is fucking free. Guys, we all need help sometimes. Do not be afraid to call. Nobody knows that you're going to call them or whatever. And even if they do, who gives a shit? It's all about serving and helping the customer. So please use Bluon as that resource. And like they said, how Bluon can keep giving us these free resources is become a Bluon Pro member. If you're going to order your parts, it's stuff you're buying anyway. Do it through the Bluon app. Get it through the same supplier you were going to buy anyway. And then Bluon gets a kickback for that. And the supply houses pay them. It's not you. It's not us. And that's how they can keep providing this amazing free resource. So remember that. Everybody go down the Bluon app. Go download the Bluon app. Become a Bluon Pro member. You get a hat. I don't have my Pro hats back there. You get Bluon Pro, wrong camera. Bluon hats. You can get the Pro hat that's got gray. I rock mine all the time. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it. All right. So if you haven't done it, I want you to punch yourself in the nuts and then go grab your phone and download the Bluon app. So, all right, gentlemen, thank you once again. I appreciate you guys for what you do. And we're going to keep doing this. So we'll keep making our rounds to come back on and trying to work this out so we can keep doing things. Let everybody know what you guys do.
Thanks for having us, Gil.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gil.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
you, brother.
All right, guys, let me close this out, man. Why is my camera all zoomed in like I got big ass forehead? There we go. Guys, to everybody, well, guys and gals, thank you for coming out and watching this show live. If you watch after the fact, if you could please type in replay. Please stay tuned to this series, man. We're going to keep doing it so you guys can meet these people on the other end, because you keep hearing Bluon tech support, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually see these people as a resource and what they know, how long they've been in the industry, it's going to make you be like, oh man, hey, I want to call and get a hold of Mike or Logan or Brian or Dennis, or as we keep meeting people, you realize the amount of knowledge that is on the other end of that phone. And I can't stop saying this. It is for free. It is free. Okay. Your company, when you call tech support, if you're a factory authorized dealer, guess what? That fucking phone call is not free. Maybe it's not charging you, but your company's paying for it. All right. So trust me when I say this, use the resources available out there. Don't worry about your pride, because to me, it's stupid if you have a resource that can help you be better at your job, be more efficient at your job, help your customer better, and you don't use it. All right? Remember, the first round of the Bluon giveaway winners was out. Actually, today was the last day. Where's the names at? So Ryan Hughes Man HVAC was a winner. And go back and check the community post. I want to say his name was James Edward. He was the other winner, and you had till today, bud. So I'll give you till tomorrow morning. If you don't message me back, then I got to pick another winner, man. And just so you guys know, here. This is what was up for grabs that he did not claim. So this is a Yellow Jacket Y-Jack charging and air kit. The only thing you have to do to enter these giveaways is be subscribed to the HVAC Uncensored YouTube channel, and you have to be a Bluon Pro member. So I actually check with Jessica, who is one of my reps over there, and we check to make sure that you are a Bluon Pro member, and then you get your prize sent out. So it's that simple. It's a win-win. Awesome tech support, awesome resources, and you get free shit. All right? Okay, let's close this out. Guys, I appreciate you. Make sure you follow the podcast and all the social media sites so you stay up to date. And guys, remember, be safe out there. We all have somebody to make it home to. It's a crazy world we live in. And like they said on the show, it's your responsibility to make sure that you make it home safe to your loved ones and your family. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy. There is no reason to say, I don't know. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to know, because there's too many resources out there to help you, whether it's Bluon, YouTube videos, podcasts, books. There's always a way to make yourself better, okay? Go do it. There's no excuses, all right? I love you guys, man. I appreciate each and every one of you mofos. Thank you for supporting me for so long, for coming out here every Tuesday, every Wednesday, downloading the audio podcast on Mondays. I want to thank you guys. With last Monday, we actually broke 2 million downloads. I can't tell you what that means to me, that people have downloaded my podcast 2 million times. It absolutely fucking blows me away. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I don't even know how to show you how much, gratitude and appreciation I have to you. All right, guys, tomorrow night we have the regularly scheduled podcast right here, 8 p.m. Is going to be an IAQ expert. So if you have any IAQ questions, make sure you're right back here 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. All right, until next time, I'll talk at you mofos later.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.